A millionaire swore he'd make her his wife. But on their honeymoon, he found out she was a virgin, and the proposal he made left her speechless. Before we start the story, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. Never in all my years in business has anyone had the nerve to tell me no. To my face. Ethan Walker slammed his fist on the table, making the expensive whiskey bottle tremble. His closest friend, Logan Price, just chuckled and poured himself another glass. That's just what your ego needed. A woman who's not impressed by the great telecom tycoon, Logan teased, raising his glass in a sarcastic toast. Ethan Walker, 32 years old, a billionaire chased by women all over Mexico, was outraged and intrigued. The interior designer he'd met that morning had done something no one else had, turned down his invitation. Olivia Carter, he murmured, the name sounding like a mystery in his mouth. Who does she think she is? A woman who doesn't want to mix business with her personal life, Logan suggested, earning a cold, sharp look in return. 3 hours earlier, Ethan had met Olivia. A simple greeting was enough to spark something unusual, an intense connection that caught him completely off guard. During the presentation for the office redesign, he noticed how she looked him straight in the eye, with no fear or flattery. At the end of the meeting, he casually invited her to dinner. And then came the unexpected reply. Thanks for the invite, but I'd rather keep things strictly professional. That rejection stirred something in Ethan, a dangerous mix of attraction and obsession that now had him hooked. You know what I'm going to do? He said, suddenly certain. I'm going to win her over, and she's not going to be just another conquest. Logan choked on his drink. What do you mean? Ethan smiled, a predatory gleam in his eyes. I'm going to make Olivia Carter fall completely in love with me, and then I'll marry her. Marry her? Logan nearly shouted. Are you crazy or just drunk? I'll bet you $1,000 she'll be my wife in 6 months. Logan shook his head, worried by the intense look in his friend's eyes. Ethan, marriage isn't a game. What if you end up falling for her for real? Ethan laughed, but there was a small hesitation in his voice. A doubt he didn't want to admit. No way, this is just for fun. In 6 months, she'll be a walker. Are you betting or not? Across town, in a modest apartment, Olivia was venting to her friend Rachel Moore. That man is unbearable. Full of himself, arrogant, and ridiculously handsome, she confessed, flopping onto the couch with a frustrated sigh. Why are the worst ones always the most attractive? Then why didn't you say yes to the dinner? A little fun wouldn't hurt, Rachel teased, laughing. Olivia turned serious right away. You know why? Guys like Ethan Walker don't really see women, they see trophies. And I promised myself I'd never follow in my mother's footsteps. Olivia's phone buzzed. A message from Ethan's assistant confirmed a new meeting scheduled for the next day. Her heart skipped a beat, though she didn't want it to. He's just another important client, she muttered to herself. That's all this is. What Olivia didn't know was that, at that very moment, the powerful Ethan Walker was already planning every move to turn her from a simple professional into the future Mrs. Walker. Her life was about to be turned completely upside down. The bet was made. The game had begun, and neither of them could imagine the deep consequences of a plan born from wounded pride. Ethan Walker's mansion was on the outskirts of Lake Forest, surrounded by century-old trees and protected by ornate iron gates. It looked like something from a movie. Grand facade, wide windows, curved staircases, and a stunning view of Lake Michigan. And now, about to undergo a full renovation, it needed someone with good taste and discretion to lead the transformation. Ethan knew exactly who he wanted. The morning after his talk with Logan, his team sent the official invitation for Olivia Carter to personally manage the mansion's remodeling project. Home renovation? Olivia raised an eyebrow as she read the email. I thought he was happy with my corporate work. Maybe he's impressed, Rachel said, handing her 2 cups of coffee. Impressed or manipulative, Olivia replied, skeptical. This might just be a subtle way to keep me close. And what if it's a real opportunity? Rachel said, it's a great contract, excellent conditions, and you could make it clear from the start that this is still a strictly professional relationship. Olivia bit her lower lip, thinking. She wasn't naive. She knew Ethan was used to getting what he wanted, but she also knew that constantly turning him down might only make him more determined. Maybe the best way to disarm him was to say yes. The next afternoon, Olivia walked through the gates of the estate with her hair in a neat bun, wearing tailored pants and a white shirt, perfectly composed, focused expression. Ethan was waiting for her on the porch with 2 mugs of coffee. "I'm glad you agreed to the project." "I'm still considering it," she replied, reaching out her hand. "But I came to see the space." During the visit, Olivia took notes, snapped pictures, assessed textures and lighting. She avoided eye contact with Ethan whenever she could, but she couldn't deny it. He was charming when he wanted to be. He showed her the rooms with enthusiasm, shared family stories, and described architectural details that genuinely surprised her. "You really care about this house, don't you?" she asked at the end of the visit. "It's not just a house. It's the only place where I still remember who I was, before becoming who people expect me to be." It was the first time Olivia saw something real behind Ethan Walker's polished exterior. "If I accept," she said, putting her tablet back in her bag, "there will be rules. Go on. Nothing outside the scope of the project. No personal invitations. No attempts to get close that aren't professional." Ethan smiled, accepting the challenge on her terms. Deal. The following weeks were filled with frequent meetings at the mansion. Olivia handled the project with surgical precision. Approvals, blueprints, supplier meetings. But Ethan, like a skilled chess master, knew exactly where to apply pressure. He praised her work sincerely, sent flowers to the entire team, hosted project briefings over lunch in the garden, catered by well-known chefs. "You never stop, do you?" he said one afternoon while she was reviewing wall finishes in the living room. "And you don't give up." Persistent. There's a difference. Olivia took a deep breath, trying not to laugh. Sometimes it was hard to resist, but she couldn't afford to let her guard down. Then one night, after personally checking the lighting on the front of the house, it suddenly started to rain. They ran into the mansion, soaking wet, laughing like teenagers. Olivia was trying to dry her hair with a kitchen towel when she noticed Ethan watching her. "You don't smile much," he said, slowly walking toward her. "And you talk too much." "I can be quiet." "If it's for this," he replied, leaning in. Olivia hesitated just for a second. Then, without knowing exactly why, she let their lips meet. The kiss was slow, full of built-up tension. When they pulled away, they were both breathless. "That shouldn't have happened," Olivia whispered. "But it did, because it's real." She didn't answer. She just grabbed her bag and left. The next morning, Ethan couldn't stop smiling, until he opened the drawer in the library office and found a gray folder, discreet but out of place. He didn't remember putting it there. Curious, he opened it. Inside were copies of floor plans for the Walker Global headquarters, some financial flow charts, and the Dawson and Kramer logo, his biggest competitor. Ethan froze. He started flipping through the documents one by one, confidential details about the layout of the headquarters that only someone with inside access would have, structural analyses, budgets, even handwritten notes in Olivia's handwriting. His mind raced. No, it can't be. But everything pointed to one logical explanation. Olivia Carter was working for the competition, and that kiss last night was just part of the plan. His pride wounded, his trust broken before it could even form. Ethan felt his blood boil. He stood up suddenly and slammed the folder onto the table. "So this is how she plays." Across town, Olivia was at her small dining table, reviewing fabric samples, completely unaware of what was happening at the Walker mansion. In her mind, the kiss had been a mistake. An emotional slip, something she needed to keep in check. She had no idea that, at that very moment, Ethan's entire view of her had shifted, and that the game was now taking on a far more dangerous tone. What began as a pursuit was turning once again into a quiet battlefield. The folder still sat on the office table, like a silent poison. Ethan had read it twice that morning, searching for any logical explanation that didn't involve betrayal. But the evidence was too clear. "Why would you do this, Olivia?" he muttered to himself. "What are you after?" Despite the anger he felt, there was something even stronger behind it. The need to understand. And above all, the need to keep playing the game. But now, with his cards held closer to his chest, he wasn't going to push her away. On the contrary, he was going to keep her even closer. That afternoon, Olivia arrived at the mansion for a project planning meeting. Ethan greeted her with a polite smile, cold, almost corporate. She noticed the change in his tone right away. "Is everything okay?" she asked while arranging some papers on the kitchen counter. "Everything's fine. Just a long day," he said, avoiding eye contact. She nodded, but felt suspicious. Throughout the meeting, Ethan stayed polite but distant. No jokes, no lingering looks, no subtle teasing. It was as if the kiss had never happened. Olivia left the house that night with a tight feeling in her chest. Not out of pride, but because deep down she had expected something more. "He's acting weird, Rachel, completely different. Do you think he regrets it?" Her friend asked over the phone. "I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe he realized it's no fun if I'm not resisting anymore." "But, are you still resisting?" Olivia didn't answer. She just sighed. The truth was, without realizing it, she had started to enjoy having Ethan around. The unexpected moments of kindness, the short messages at odd times, the way he seemed to really see her, not just as a pretty face. But now, everything had changed. Ethan spent the next few days quietly keeping tabs on Olivia. He asked for more frequent updates, requested printed reports instead of emails, and made indirect comments about her past career. He even had Logan run a background check. "You want me to dig into the life of the woman you say you love, just to prove a theory based on a folder being out of place? I want to know everything. Phone calls, contacts with other companies, client history. If she's playing a game, I'm going to find out." Logan hesitated but gave in. He knew Ethan well enough to understand he wouldn't rest until he was sure. Meanwhile, Olivia kept working on the project, doing her best to stay focused, but Ethan's attitude was affecting her. She could feel his eyes on her, his tone always slightly accusatory, like any small mistake might confirm something she didn't even understand. On Wednesday, during a design meeting, he suddenly cut her off. "Why did you choose this color palette?" She blinked, surprised. "Because it works well with the room's natural light. It creates a welcoming feeling. It matches the style you asked me for. It doesn't feel very original." Olivia felt her face flush. The implied criticism was obvious. "If there's a problem with my work, you can always hire someone else." Ethan stood up slowly. "I don't want someone else." The tension hung in the air for a few seconds. Then he added, "I just want to make sure you're being completely honest with me." She frowned. "What do you mean?" "Forget it," he said, looking away. "Go on with what you were doing." But Olivia didn't forget. Later that same night, Ethan walked alone through the mansion's hallways. He felt torn. His instincts told him to stay cautious. His logic told him to investigate. But his heart was starting to rebel against reason. What if he was wrong? What if this was all just a misunderstanding? The memory of the kiss kept coming back, like an emotional anchor pulling him away from doubt. It had felt real, fragile but honest, strong enough to challenge him, gentle enough to carry meaning. Maybe there was another explanation for the folder, but he wasn't ready to lower his guard. Not yet. On Friday, Olivia showed up earlier than usual to review a delivery of materials. She was wearing jeans, a white shirt, and had her hair tied back in a ponytail. Still, Ethan couldn't help but notice how beautiful she looked. Natural, genuine. As she supervised the delivery, he watched from a distance, hiding behind one of the office curtains, in silence, trying to understand how someone with eyes like hers could be hiding anything. "What are you doing to me, Olivia?" he whispered. That night, Logan called. "I finished the background check. And there's nothing. Not a single link to Dawson and Kramer. In fact, she turned down 2 offers from them in the last few years. One of them was even better than yours." Ethan said nothing. The folder could have been placed there by someone else, or maybe it was left there by mistake. But she has no connection to corporate spying. Everything she's done, she did in good faith. Guilt hit Ethan like a landslide. The coldness, the suspicion, the hidden accusations. He had hurt someone who didn't deserve it. "Logan, I warned you. So now what?" Ethan closed his eyes. Now he needed to fix everything. But he still didn't have the courage to tell her about the folder, and even less about the bet. So he decided to do what he knew best. Act quickly. It was the middle of the night when Ethan woke up with a start. He had dreamed about Olivia. Not a romantic or sensual dream, but one of those dreams that left him uneasy, with the feeling that something important was about to slip away. In the dream, she looked at him with tears in her eyes, calling him a traitor. He woke up with his face sweaty and his chest tight. "I'm doing everything wrong," he thought. Despite Logan's information proving that Olivia wasn't connected to the competition, Ethan still couldn't shake the image of the folder. It was as if his mind refused to accept that the threat was no longer there. Or maybe it was just his pride trying to survive. He needed a second opinion. One last check. That's how he discreetly hired a private investigator. Someone he completely trusted, used to handling delicate situations involving the Walker name. "I want to know everything about Olivia Carter," he said on the phone. "Professional history, connections, recent movements, anything that could have slipped through. Without her knowing? Complete secrecy." Meanwhile, Olivia threw herself into the project as a way to try and drown out the whirlwind of feelings surrounding her. The past few weeks had been emotionally exhausting. Ethan had been cold, distant, confused. One day he praised her work enthusiastically. The next, he treated her like an invisible employee. She tried to find a pattern, but all she found were gaps. Still, something inside her kept pushing her to continue. Maybe because, despite everything, she still believed there was something real in the way Ethan looked at her, at least the way he had looked at her before. 2 days later, the investigator returned. "Mr. Walker, I've finished the report. I'll send the full report, but I can tell you that there's absolutely no suspicious connection involving Olivia Carter. Quite the opposite." Ethan pressed the phone against his ear. "Can you explain?" "That folder with the Dawson and Kramer documents you found? It was part of a confidential proposal Olivia was working on. It was a surprise project to remodel the old Walker Global headquarters using sustainability concepts and contrasts with the competition's architecture as a sort of visual manifesto." "A manifesto?" Ethan asked, confused. "She intended to present it as a tribute to your journey at the company, comparing what Walker had built with what the competition tried to copy. It was a personal and professional gift." Ethan sank into his chair, feeling the air leave his lungs. Everything he had believed about Olivia in the last few days was a huge distortion. She wasn't betraying him, she admired him. And worse, he had treated all of this like a farce. That night, Ethan stood by the lake for hours, reflecting on his own mistakes. She had trusted him. She had given him her best, her art, her effort, her vision. And what had he done? Treated her like a suspect, like a threat. And still, even with all her coldness, she kept coming back. "You're better than me," he thought. It was time to stop acting like a wounded man. It was time to fix what could still be saved. The next afternoon, Olivia was called to an urgent meeting at the mansion. When she arrived, the house was quiet. No sounds of construction, no workers around. As she entered the main hall, she found a carpet of white flowers leading to the center of the room. There, under the soft light of antique chandeliers, Ethan waited, wearing a navy blue shirt and a vulnerable expression. "What's going on?" she asked, suspicious. "Before anything else, I want to apologize." She furrowed her brow. "Why?" "For doubting you, for letting fear guide me instead of the truth. For hurting you with my coldness when all you gave me was sincerity." Olivia stayed silent. Ethan took a step forward. "I found out everything about that secret project. The folder, the comparative analysis, the visual manifesto. I know it was supposed to be a surprise and a tribute." She looked away. "I thought you'd like it. But after what happened, I thought it'd be better to let it go. It was the most beautiful thing anyone has ever planned for me, and I ruined it. Another step forward, but I want to try to fix it." Then, with a gentle movement, Ethan knelt down, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. "Olivia Carter, I know our beginning was rocky, full of noise, distrust and pride, but I also know I've never felt this way about anyone before. You disarm me, you challenge me, you show me every day the kind of man I want to be." Her eyes widened. "Ethan, I'm not expecting you to say yes right now, but I want you to know that my intentions are real. I don't want to use you. I don't just want to win you over. I want to walk beside you, build something real, something that doesn't start as a game, but ends with a promise." She looked at the ring, simple, elegant, surprisingly tasteful. "This is all happening too fast. Maybe, but not faster than how sure I feel." Olivia took a deep breath. "I don't know if I can trust you yet." Ethan nodded, understanding. "Then let me try, every day until I earn it." She didn't answer right away, but she took one step forward, then another. and held his hand. "If I say yes, nothing can be like it was before. It'll be better, I promise." Then, with her heart racing, she said yes. Outside, Rachel, hidden quietly behind a curtain with Logan, let out a breath of relief. "I thought he was going to mess it up," she whispered. "He still might," Logan replied, "but at least this time, he's trying to do it right." That night, as Ethan watched Olivia sitting beside him, he knew something had shifted. It wasn't about a bet, or pride, or revenge anymore. It was something deeper. Something he was still learning how to name. And for the first time in a long while, he wanted to be worthy of the woman next to him. The proposal had been intimate, but the announcement was anything but. 2 days after Olivia's quiet yes, Ethan called a press conference at one of Walker Global's event halls. Journalists, cameras, and flashes gathered under the pretense of a company presentation, only to be surprised by the real reason. "I'm pleased to announce that I'm engaged to the most incredible woman I've ever met," Ethan said, holding Olivia's hand, in front of dozens of stunned reporters. She wore a modest cream-colored dress and smiled, a little nervous. Ethan's hand held hers tightly, as if to say, "Trust me." Watching from home, Rachel nearly fell off the couch. "This isn't an engagement announcement. It's a full-on production," she said to Logan, who looked just as surprised. "I told you he'd go all in. When Ethan makes a decision, there's no halfway." That night, the headlines were everywhere. Ethan Walker off the market. CEO announces sudden engagement to interior designer. Reactions ranged from shock to suspicion, and of course, plenty of judgment. But no one reacted more strongly than the Walker family themselves. "An engagement?" asked Meredith Walker, Ethan's mother, raising an eyebrow. "To a woman you've known for how long, exactly?" "Mom, let's not start," he replied, seated at the family's dining room table in Boston. "Do you realize what this marriage could mean for the company's image, for the shareholders?" his older brother, Brandon, asked. "I'm not marrying a stock asset. I'm marrying a woman. She has a name, a career, and integrity." Meredith didn't back down. "You don't even know where she's from, her family, her past. Does it matter? She's honest. More than a lot of people in this room." Silence settled heavily over the table. Olivia felt the sting of rejection during her first dinner with the Walkers. "Let's play a little game with anyone who only reads the comments. Type pizza in the comments. Only those who made it this far will get it." Now back to the story. Meredith was polite but distant. Ethan's siblings, Brandon and Laura, were overly kind, the sort of kindness that masks judgment with manners. At the end of the night, once they were in the car, Olivia burst out. "Did you really think putting me through that was a good idea? I needed to bring you into my world, to show you there's nothing to hide. But they didn't accept me, Ethan. Not truly. They will, with time. And if they don't," he held her hand, "I'm not marrying them." But his words didn't ease the discomfort growing inside Olivia. The wedding preparations began almost immediately. Ethan didn't want to wait. He said life was too short to postpone what you're sure about. He hired the best event planners, booked an exclusive vineyard in California for the ceremony, and chose vendors with magazine-worthy standards. Olivia tried to keep up, but she felt more like a guest at her own wedding. "This is all moving too fast," she confided in Rachel. "Do you still want to marry him?" "Yes, but I want this wedding to be about us, not headlines or his family's tradition." "Then talk to him. And what if he doesn't understand?" Rachel looked her friend straight in the eyes. "If he really loves you, he will." Olivia tried to talk to Ethan 3 times. Twice, he was busy dealing with the wedding planner. The 3rd time, he was in a video call with investors. When she finally managed to bring it up, they were having dinner in his penthouse, surrounded by folders filled with decor ideas. "Ethan, I need to breathe." "What do you mean?" "That everything is moving too fast. The media, your family, the contracts, the dress. I can hardly remember why I agreed to get married." He stayed quiet for a few seconds. "Because you love me?" "Yes, but I also want it to happen on my terms. I need to feel like I'm a part of this, that it's my story too." He moved closer, sitting beside her. "I'm sorry, I just wanted to show you I'm serious, that I'm committed. But if it's overwhelming you, we can stop, or slow things down. It's your call." She took a deep breath, relieved. "I just want us to be us, without the rest of the world pushing in." And he understood. Even with a slower pace, the wedding was set for 2 months later. It would be a smaller, more intimate event, with only 100 guests. Rachel was chosen as the maid of honor, Logan as the best man. "I thought Ethan was going to lose you in the middle of all this chaos," Logan told Olivia during a dress fitting. "I thought so too, but I think he's trying to change, and that alone means a lot." The week before the wedding, Olivia had a nightmare. She dreamed she was standing at the altar, alone. The guests stared at her with pity. Ethan never showed up. Instead, images of her absent father, her mother crying alone, and her ex-boyfriend mocking her took his place. She woke up in a sweat. She rushed to the balcony and, for the first time in weeks, allowed herself to cry. "Am I really ready for this?" She asked herself that every day. But every time she saw the light in Ethan's eyes when he talked about the future, something inside her said yes. The ceremony was smaller than everyone expected and bigger than Olivia ever dreamed. Unlike the grand weddings of America's elite, Ethan chose something simple. An outdoor ceremony on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean. At sunset, the two of them said, "I do," in front of a small group of guests, surrounded by white flowers, soft piano music in the background, and an atmosphere full of real promises. It felt like in that moment, all the world's noise had faded. Olivia, dressed simply but stunningly, walked down the aisle with her eyes locked on Ethan. He waited with a subtle smile, full of meaning. When their eyes met, it was as if all the past mistakes had been forgiven, and everything finally made sense. After exchanging rings, kisses, and heartfelt vows, the newlyweds moved on to the next chapter. The honeymoon. Their chosen destination was a luxurious overwater bungalow in Bora Bora, looking like something straight out of a movie. Elegant wooden villas connected by charming walkways, all surrounded by turquoise waters stretching as far as the eye could see. Olivia let out a breath of awe as the boat pulled up to their private deck. "Ethan, this place is a dream," she whispered, amazed by every detail. He smiled, watching her eyes light up with the excitement he had hoped to spark. "Only the best for the woman of my life." Calling her his wife still felt surreal. The word carried a bittersweet weight, a mix of happiness and regret, because Ethan still hadn't told her everything. That first day was like a fantasy. They swam in clear waters, explored colorful coral reefs, and indulged in spa massages at the resort. It was as if the outside world didn't exist. No pressure, no painful memories, no past. At sunset, they had dinner on the deck facing the ocean, the sky painted with orange and pink hues dancing on the calm surface. A bottle of rare champagne, custom dishes from the head chef, and soft background music. Ethan had thought of every detail. "A toast," he said, raising his glass, "to our future." Olivia smiled, raising hers too, "to what's ahead, and to the amazing surprises life still has in store for us." Ethan swallowed his drink with effort. The irony in her words hit him like a punch. The surprises that lay ahead might not be so pleasant. As night fell, the atmosphere between them grew more charged with anticipation. It was their first official night as husband and wife. Even though they'd shared intimate moments during their engagement, this felt different, as if everything now held deeper meaning. Olivia seemed slightly nervous as she headed to the bathroom, saying she needed to get ready. Meanwhile, Ethan took the opportunity to set the mood. He lit candles, adjusted the lights, and made the bed with great care. When she appeared at the door, Olivia was wearing a white silk nightgown that gently molded to her body. Ethan was breathless. Still, he noticed something in her expression, a mix of desire and hesitation. "Is everything okay?" he asked, stepping closer with tenderness and holding her hands. She nodded slowly, lowering her gaze before speaking. "There's something you need to know." Ethan's heart raced. She found out. He thought instantly. Had Logan said too much? Or had someone leaked the secret of the bet? "What is it?" he asked, trying to remain calm. Olivia took a deep breath as if preparing to jump off a cliff. "Ethan, I've never been with anyone before." He frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" "I'm a virgin," she answered quickly. "I've never been with anyone." Ethan blinked a few times, trying to process this. This was a revelation he could never have imagined. A woman like Olivia? Beautiful, confident, independent, a virgin at 25? But why? Olivia stepped back, going to the balcony and staring at the dark sea ahead. "I grew up watching my mother being hurt by a man who left her with no explanation. I promised myself I'd only give myself to someone when I was absolutely sure. Her words cut through Ethan. If only she knew the real reason behind the beginning of their relationship. I had a few boyfriends, she continued, but I was always clear about my boundaries. The most serious one, Derek, broke up with me because he thought there was something wrong with me. Ethan approached and gently placed his hands on her shoulders. There's nothing wrong with sticking to your values. That's rare. And beautiful. She turned to face him, her eyes wet. Aren't you disappointed? Some men expect something else. I'm surprised, yes, but not disappointed. You're perfect just the way you are. The sincerity in his eyes touched her deeply. Olivia smiled, relieved. I'm scared. I don't know how to act. I'm afraid I'll disappoint you. Don't worry about that. We've got all the time in the world. We'll take it slow. I trust you, she said, determined. I'm ready. That hurt more than any accusation. She trusted him with everything, and he was still hiding a terrible secret. That night, Ethan was more careful than he had ever been. Every touch, every kiss was given with respect and patience. When they finally came together, it was so intimate, so full of emotion, that he felt his eyes fill with tears. Later, with her asleep in his arms, guilt came crashing down on him like an avalanche. Olivia had given him something precious, her complete trust, and he had started it all as part of a cruel game. Around 4 a.m, Ethan quietly got up and went out to the balcony. The moonlight reflected off the water like a silver carpet. The contrast between the peace of the landscape and the chaos in his mind was brutal. She needs to know, he murmured to himself. She has the right to know. But how could he tell her that it all started with a bet between friends? How could he convince her that, even so, the feelings he had now were real? The next morning, Olivia surprised him with a warm hug in the kitchen of the bungalow. Good morning, my husband, she said with a shy smile. Ethan tried to smile back, but his stomach churned. Did you sleep well? Like never before. Thank you for everything. He nodded, unable to find an honest response. In the days that followed, he alternated between happiness and remorse. During the day, they lived tropical adventures, diving, hiking, seaside dinners. At night, they grew closer in every sense. But the secret remained, eating away at his conscience. He tried to confess several times, but he always pulled back when he saw the sparkle in her eyes. On the 5th night, during a candlelit dinner on the beach, Olivia finally noticed. Is everything okay, Ethan? You seem distant. It was his chance. Olivia, I need to tell you something. The phone rang. It was Logan. Answer, love, she said. It could be something important. Ethan picked up, stepping away. Logan, not now. Sorry, man, but we've got a problem. Olivia's ex showed up here. Who? Derek. He says he needs to talk to her urgently. He's nervous. He mentioned revealing the truth. Ethan froze. What truth? I don't know, but he threatened to go to Bora Bora. Don't let him. I'll take care of it. He hung up, and Olivia watched him with curiosity. Is something wrong? Work stuff. Nothing serious. Once again, he postponed the truth. The next day, he saw Olivia on the balcony, talking on the phone. I don't want to hear it, Derek. It's in the past. Stop calling me. She hung up, pale, hands trembling. Is everything okay? Ethan asked, startling her. It was just a ghost from the past. Derek, she looked at him, surprised. How do you know? I heard the end of the conversation. He still can't accept that it's over. He said he found out something about you, but I didn't want to hear it. Aren't you curious? No. I trust you, Ethan. That's enough. Those words cut deep. Her trust was a gift he hadn't yet earned. The days following Derek's call passed in a blur for Ethan. On the outside, he kept up the image of a loving, attentive husband, but inside, he was torn, wanting to protect what he had built, while fearing he might lose it all if the truth came out. Olivia's trust was obvious and painful. The way she looked at him with such openness hurt. But now there was more. Derek. The ex-boyfriend, with his fake smile and unclear motives, wasn't just a ghost anymore. He was a real threat, and getting closer. On the morning of the 7th day, Ethan went down to the resort lounge to get coffee. He was returning with 2 mugs in hand when he saw something that made him freeze. Derek Collins. He was standing at the hotel reception desk, wearing an open floral shirt and sunglasses hanging from the collar. He was chatting casually with the receptionist, flashing a rehearsed smile. Ethan felt his blood boil. He crossed the room without thinking and stopped just a few steps away from the man he'd been trying to avoid. "What the hell are you doing here?" Derek turned slowly, a smug smile on his face. "Well, Ethan, good to see you. I was just about to check in. You followed us?" "Let's not jump to conclusions. This resort is open to the public. I just got lucky picking the same paradise destination as you." Ethan stepped closer. "Just say what you want. You're here because of Olivia, aren't you?" Derek didn't even try to hide his grin. "I've got unfinished business. Olivia and I have some things that never got resolved, as you know. That relationship ended over a year ago. Maybe. But some things don't end that easily, especially when there are secrets involved." Ethan stared at him, tense. "What secrets?" "Oh, don't be so eager. I'd rather talk to Olivia when she's ready. Maybe she deserves to know how things really started between the two of you, don't you think?" The punch came before Ethan could even think. It landed squarely on Derek's jaw, knocking him backward and into a chair. "Mr. Walker," the receptionist shouted, rushing over. Still breathing hard, Ethan pulled himself together. A hotel security guard appeared almost instantly, stepping between them. "Get this man out of here," Ethan ordered, wiping the blood off his knuckles. "Now." Hours later, back at the bungalow, Olivia burst into the room, eyes wide. "What happened?" Ethan was sitting on the porch, ice wrapped in a towel on his hand. He tried to hide it, but the swelling was clear. There was a disagreement in the lobby. "With who?" He hesitated. "Derek, he's here." Olivia stopped. The world seemed to slow down around her. "What?" "He showed up at the resort, said he wanted to talk to you, but I stopped him." "You hit him?" "He was being intrusive." She crossed her arms, stunned. "You decided for me whether I should listen to him or not." "I was protecting you. Or protecting yourself." The words hung between them like a burning coal. Ethan tried to stay calm. "Olivia, he has nothing good to say. He just wants to confuse you, to turn you against me. And why would he have that kind of power, unless there is something you're hiding?" His silence was answer enough. She took a step back, disappointment spreading across her face. "Something's off. I felt it. Since our first night here, you've been different." You what, Ethan?" He opened his mouth, but the words wouldn't come. He had rehearsed them so many times, yet now fear kept them trapped. "Forget it," Olivia said, grabbing her purse. "I need to take a walk. I need air." Rachel answered on the second ring. "Olivia, are you crying?" "I don't know what's going on," she said between sobs. "Ethan's pulling away, and Derek showed up." "Derek? In Hawaii?" "Exactly. And Ethan is hiding something. I can feel it. Do you want me to come out there?" "No, I just needed to let it out." Rachel was quiet on the other end. "Do you love Ethan?" "I do, and that's what hurts the most." "Then wait, look him in the eye, and ask what you need to know." That evening, Olivia came back to the room. Ethan was sitting at the table, hands clasped, eyes lost in thought. "I'm going to ask you once, Ethan, and I want the truth." He looked at her. "All right. Did you hide something about how we started?" Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, and for the first time he chose to lie, to protect her. "No." Olivia felt like something inside her had collapsed. The lie echoed louder than any scream. She just nodded and walked into the room, leaving him there, alone with his guilt. But something inside her had broken. And maybe now, she just needed to figure out how much of it could still be fixed. Olivia woke up early, but didn't feel rested. The soft Bora Bora breeze drifted through the open window, bringing the salty scent of the sea, but none of it brought peace. The night before kept replaying in her mind, Ethan punching Derek, the evasions, the tension between them, and most of all, the overwhelming feeling that she was being lied to. She looked to the side. The bed was empty. Ethan was already gone. At breakfast, he was waiting for her with cut fruit and 2 cups of tea. His smile seemed forced, almost sad. Olivia sat down without saying a word. "Did you sleep well?" he asked, trying to break the silence. "Better than I expected," she lied. They ate in silence, like 2 strangers sharing the same table. The connection they'd shared just days ago now felt buried under an invisible weight. Later, Olivia walked alone along the beach. She called Rachel, who answered on the second ring. "Hey, stranger, how are you?" "Lost." Rachel stayed quiet, listening. "What happened now?" "The same thing as yesterday. Ethan still won't say what's going on, and I don't know what's true anymore." "What about Derek?" "He disappeared after the fight. but he planted a doubt in me. And now I can't ignore it. Rachel sighed. Olivia, you've always had sharp instincts. Trust them. If something doesn't make sense, maybe it's because something really is wrong. I don't know if I'm ready to find out. Sometimes, knowing the truth hurts less than living in a lie. Meanwhile, Logan Price was arriving at the resort, his expression tense and focused. There was no more avoiding it. Ethan had to face the consequences of the bet he made months ago. He found his friend at the resort bar, facing the infinity pool. You've got 5 minutes before I go straight to Olivia and tell her everything, Logan said, straight to the point. Ethan set his glass down. You came all the way here for that? I came because she deserves to know. And because you'll hate yourself if you keep running from this. Ethan ran his hand over his face, exhausted. I was going to tell her so many times, but she trusted me in a way I've never seen before. And now I'm scared to lose that. Maybe you already have. Maybe you're just delaying the inevitable. I love her, Logan. It didn't start that way, but now she's everything. Then prove it. Tell her the truth. Olivia was walking out of the front lobby with a beach towel when she saw Logan in the distance. She frowned. What was he doing there? Curious, she quietly walked to the side deck by the bar, where she heard voices. She didn't mean to listen, but the words hit like bullets. The bet, Ethan, Logan said. You promised you'd make her your wife in 6 months. It was all a game to you. Olivia froze. Her heart raced. The world around her seemed to blur. I know, Ethan answered, his voice low. But I fell in love. Everything changed. But she doesn't know that, does she? She still thinks it was love from the start. Olivia felt the ground vanish beneath her feet. She backed away in silence, her hands shaking. The bet. The wedding. Was it all a lie? She made it back to the bungalow without even knowing how. She threw her bag to the floor and paced back and forth, her chest tight. Scenes played in her mind like a film. The first invitation, the over-the-top compliments, the sudden proposal. Now it all made sense. Rachel answered the call, her voice tense. You made a bet, Olivia said, her voice cracking. What? Ethan bet his friend he could make me fall in love and marry him in 6 months. It was all planned. Are you sure? I heard it with my own ears. Rachel was silent for a moment. Then you need to get out of there. I'm leaving. Today. Ethan came into the bungalow a few hours later, holding a necklace made of fresh flowers. He'd planned a surprise dinner on the private deck. But when he walked in, he saw Olivia with her back to him, closing a suitcase. What's going on? She turned slowly. Her eyes were red. I'm leaving. What? Why? Because I heard everything, Ethan. The bet, the plan, what you said to Logan. Ethan's face went pale. Olivia, I can explain. Explain? She laughed bitterly. Explain how you used me in a game with your friends? That all of this was just a setup to boost your ego? No, I swear it's not like that. It started as a bet, yes, but everything changed when I really got to know you. She took a step back. And even after it changed, you still didn't tell me. You stayed silent. You made me trust you. You made me give myself to you, knowing it was all built on a lie. I was scared. I didn't want to lose you. You've already lost me, Ethan. He tried to get closer, but she stepped back. Olivia, I love you. I would do anything to start over the right way. It's too late. She grabbed her suitcase and walked past him. Don't look for me. Not now. Maybe never again. And she walked out the door, leaving Ethan alone, broken, in the place where he had hoped to start a new life. In the airport waiting area, Olivia stared at the sea one last time. Rachel was on the other end of the line. Are you going to Mexico? I'm visiting my aunt for a few days. I need some air. Do you want me to meet you there? Not yet. I need to be alone, to process everything. Rachel hesitated before asking, do you still love him? Olivia swallowed hard. That's not enough, Rachel. Love isn't an excuse to lie. And she hung up. In Chicago, days later, Ethan wandered the halls of Walker Global headquarters like a shadow of himself. The staff whispered about his worn-out appearance, about the sudden cancellation of the trip, about the unusual silence of the CEO who used to radiate confidence. Logan walked into his office, but Ethan didn't even look up. She's gone. Doesn't want to know about me. I'm sorry. You should be. Logan lowered his eyes. Are you going after her? She asked me not to. And are you going to obey? For the first time, yes. They sat in silence for long seconds. She needs space. But I'm not giving up, Ethan said, finally. No matter how long it takes, I'm going to prove to Olivia that love was the only real part. The airport gates closed behind Olivia as if sealing an entire phase of her life. The Pacific breeze gave way to the dry heat of Cancun, where her maternal aunt lived in a modest house surrounded by a garden full of medicinal herbs and lazy cats. "Niece, your face looks drained," said Aunt Elena, hugging her at the door. "Is this a broken heart?" Olivia tried to smile but couldn't. She just collapsed into her aunt's arms, letting the tears fall at last. During the first days, Olivia isolated herself. She slept little, ate even less, spent hours walking through the garden, trying to understand where everything had gone wrong. The bet? Ethan's silence, the feeling of being deceived from the very first hello. But there was something else, a growing discomfort, nausea, dizziness. At first, she thought it was emotional. But on the third morning of vomiting before even getting out of bed, Aunt Elena suggested, "How long has it been since your last period?" Olivia turned pale. At the corner pharmacy, she bought 2 tests. Both came back positive. She sat on the cold bathroom floor, staring at the little stick with the 2 red lines. For long minutes, she didn't know whether to cry or smile. She was pregnant, with Ethan, the man she had loved and lost. That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept staring at the ceiling, feeling her heart pounding. A baby. She'd always wanted to be a mother, but not like this. Not at a time of so much confusion, so much pain. How would she tell him? Should she tell him? Or would she raise the child on her own? Rachel was the first person she told, through a video call. "Are you sure?" "I took 3 tests, and I've made an appointment to confirm." Rachel covered her face with her hands. "This changes everything, Olivia. It doesn't change the fact that he lied to me, but it changes the life growing inside you. He has the right to know." Olivia hesitated. What if he uses this as an excuse to come back, as a way to ease his guilt? Rachel looked at her firmly. What if he really has changed? "I don't know if I want to take that risk." The next day, during the appointment, the doctor confirmed the pregnancy. 8 weeks. The baby was healthy. Olivia looked at the ultrasound monitor. That little flickering shape was the heartbeat. Her baby. In that moment, something changed. She was still hurt, still confused. But there was a new life growing inside her, and that gave meaning to everything that had been directionless. She would have this child, even if it meant doing it alone. The following week, Derek showed up. He arrived unannounced, with a bouquet of flowers and a smile she no longer saw the same way. "I heard you were here," he said, walking into Aunt Elena's house with the ease of someone who'd never been gone for a year. "Who told you?" "Mutual friends. You know how it is. Small world." Olivia crossed her arms. "What do you want, Derek?" "I came to see how you're doing. After the mess in Hawaii, I was worried. I'm fine now, you can go." But he didn't leave. "I heard. You're pregnant." She felt the ground shake. "Who told you that?" "I have my sources." Olivia eyed him with suspicion. "And if it's true? Then, I want to be there." She let out a dry laugh. "There? You broke up with me because you didn't want commitment, and now you want to take responsibility for a child that's not even yours? I can be better now. Do things differently. Give you stability and care. I have a good job now. I can support both of you, and I still love you." She stayed silent. "Olivia," he continued, "that guy lied to you. He made a bet with you. He used your feelings. Are you really going to give a child to someone like that? My child is not a bargaining chip, and he's not your responsibility." Derek stepped closer. "He doesn't even know, does he? If you want, we could raise this baby together. He never has to find out." Olivia felt her throat tighten. "Get out of my house, Derek. Think about it. Get out." He stepped back, frustrated. "But if you change your mind, I'll be around." After he left, Olivia locked the door with trembling hands. Now the pressure was coming from every direction. That same week, Ethan was in his office in Chicago when Logan walked in with a strange look on his face. "We need to talk. If you're here to say I told you so, save it." Logan dropped an envelope on the desk. "This came today. It's from her aunt, Elena Carter." Ethan opened it, his hands shaking. Inside was a single sheet of paper with just a few handwritten words. "She needs space, but you have the right to know. Olivia is pregnant." The world stopped. He read it over and over again as if his eyes refused to believe it. "Pregnant? How is that possible?" "That's what she wrote. I think it's time for you to go to her." Ethan jumped to his feet. "Book me a flight, now." 2 days later, Ethan was knocking on Elena's door in Cancun. His eyes were tired, his beard unshaven, his face a mix of hope and desperation. It was Aunt Elena who answered. "You've lost weight," she said. "Come in. It's hot." "Where is she?" "Asleep. She's exhausted. The pregnancy is taking its toll." Ethan rubbed his face. "I did everything wrong." "You did. But I want to make it right. I need to talk to her." "She doesn't want to see you." "Then let me wait." And he waited. He stayed in the garden for hours, sitting next to the rosemary and lavender pots. When Olivia appeared on the porch, wearing a simple dress and her hair down, he stood up. She froze. "What are you doing here?" "I got your aunt's letter. I came as soon as I found out." She held her belly, almost instinctively. "You shouldn't have come." "He's my child, too. And you lied to his mother. You ruined everything." "I know, and I'm not here asking for forgiveness right away. But I want to be here. I won't give up on you, or him." She hesitated, then sat down tired. "Why didn't you tell me, Ethan? Why?" "Fear, cowardice, pride, a choice. And what if I don't want anything to do with you anymore?" "I still would have come, because loving someone means being there, even with no guarantees." She cried, and he didn't touch her. He just stayed there, waiting. In the days that followed, Ethan didn't push. He helped with housework, did the shopping, cooked. He never crossed any lines. Until one late afternoon, Olivia asked him to sit with her under the shade of a mango tree. "You're different. Because I've learned, the hard way, through pain." "Do you still want to marry me?" He looked her in the eyes. "Now more than ever." She gave a small, gentle smile. "I still don't know if I can, but I can let you try." And right there, he took her hand and whispered, "One step at a time? One step at a time." The days in Cancun moved at a quiet pace, as if time itself were waiting to see what would happen to Olivia's heart. The mornings were warm, the afternoons soft, and after each sudden rain, the scent of damp earth filled the house. Since their last talk under the mango tree, Ethan had become part of the routine, not as the wealthy CEO she met in Chicago, but as an ordinary man willing to relearn how to love and care, even with shaky hands. Olivia watched everything carefully. There were no promises or kisses. Not yet, but there was shared silence, gentler looks, and a quiet peace beginning to grow between them, like a stubborn sprout pushing through rough soil. On Friday, Ethan woke before sunrise and went out to buy fresh bread and fruit. He returned sweaty, holding a small bundle of wildflowers wrapped in newspaper. "They're simple, but they smell like childhood," he said, placing the flowers in a glass. "I thought the kitchen could use some color." Olivia just nodded with a small smile. She didn't know why, but that simplicity hurt more than any expensive gift she'd ever received from any man. And that's what confused her. That week, Ethan offered to paint the room Olivia was preparing for the baby. They discussed colors together. Pale yellow or mint green? Stripes or solid? They painted both. They laughed when they messed up. They made a mess with the paint. While they were painting, Olivia caught him humming to himself. It was a tune with no words, just a soft melody he whistled while sketching little stars on one of the walls. "What song is that?" she asked, her forehead smudged with paint. "I don't know. I think I just made it up." "Then it's already our baby's lullaby." The words slipped out before she could stop them. Ethan froze with the brush in hand. Their eyes met. There was raw emotion there, a bridge between who they had been and who they might still become. "Thank you for letting me be here," he said quietly. Olivia went back to painting. But the smile on her face didn't fade. The following week, Olivia had her first doctor's appointment in Cancun, with Ethan by her side. He brought a little notebook and wrote down everything the doctor said: the baby's weight, the heartbeat, the date for the next ultrasound. He even asked questions Olivia hadn't thought to ask. "Her breathing got heavier last night. Is that normal?" he asked the doctor. "Completely normal. The uterus starts pressing on the diaphragm, and it's lovely to see a father so involved," she said with a smile. Ethan looked at Olivia like it still didn't feel real. "Father? I'm still learning to feel worthy of that word." Olivia gave his hand a gentle squeeze. "One step at a time, remember?" Derek still called. Not as often as before, but now and then he sent subtle messages, a reminder that he was still lurking. "If you ever need real support, I'm here." He may be good at pretending, but a leopard doesn't change its spots. Olivia never replied. She just archived the messages. But every time his name popped up on her phone screen, it stirred something in Ethan. "Do you think he'll show up in person again?" Ethan asked one night. "I don't know, but even if he does, I'm more prepared now. And if he tries to manipulate you again, he doesn't have that power anymore." Ethan nodded, but inside, a quiet anger was growing. He didn't just want Derek out of the picture. He wanted to protect the space he was slowly rebuilding. On Tuesday, Olivia went to a breathing class for expectant mothers at a community center in town. Ethan drove her there, but chose not to go in. Instead, he sat on a bench in the front plaza, reading a book about fatherhood. As he read, a little boy around 5 years old walked up and looked curiously at the cover. "Are you going to be a dad?" Ethan looked at him and smiled. "Yes, I am." "Then you need to learn how to tell funny stories." "My dad tells one every night." "Is that so? Which one's your favorite?" "One he made up about a star that fell in our backyard and turned into my baby sister." Ethan laughed, touched. "Thank you. That tip's better than this book." The boy ran back to his mom, and Ethan closed the book with a warm feeling in his chest. For the first time, he felt ready. Not to be perfect, but to be present. As the months went by, the pregnancy symptoms grew stronger. Olivia's feet swelled, her sleep changed, and her hunger came in unpredictable waves. Ethan quietly adapted the house. He added grips in the bathroom, adjusted the bed height, and hung a hammock on the porch so she could rest at sunset. He also started cooking more often. He learned what Olivia liked: pasta with tomato and basil, fluffy rice, cold salad with pineapple. "Trying to make me gain weight?" she teased one time. "I'm trying to keep you well fed, mama of my falling star." She blushed. This was new. It was light. It was beautiful. But not everything was easy. One night during a storm, Olivia had a nightmare. She woke up in tears, sweating, hands over her belly. Ethan turned on the light, startled. "What happened?" "I dreamed you had left, wars you." That all of this was another illusion, another lie. He sat beside her and gently pulled her into a hug. "I get scared too, Olivia." "Of what?" "Of not being enough. Of hurting you again. Of making the same mistakes." She took a deep breath, still shaky. "The difference now is that you talk about it. That's already halfway there. And the other half? Sleeping beside me. Tomorrow. The next day. Every day after that." The next month, Olivia got an unexpected message. An old friend from Chicago, who didn't know about her time apart from Ethan, invited her to a conference on sustainable design. "You should go," Ethan said when she told him. "Show your talent again. Reconnect. And leave you here with everything?" "I can handle it. Actually, I'm planning to redo your aunt's bathroom as a surprise. I already got a quote." Olivia laughed. "You really don't know when to stop, do you?" "I only know when to start again." She left. She spent 3 days in Chicago. She met with colleagues, attended conferences, and heard her name mentioned in panels. And she felt homesick. Not just for Ethan, with whom she shared a home now, but for the Ethan with whom she was slowly but surely starting to share her life again. Let's have some fun with those who only read the comments. Type Pepsi in the comments. Only those who made it this far will understand. Now, let's get back to the story. When she returned, the surprise was even bigger than she had expected. It wasn't just the renovated bathroom. It was a new bookshelf in the living room, filled with children's books. It was a cloud-shaped rug in the baby's room. It was a wall full of photos of her smiling in the past few months. And a letter. "If you ever forgive me completely, I want you to know that this won't be the end of our story. It will be the beginning of our best version. Until then, I'll love you in silence." "Ethan," she cried, without shame, and then in the silence of the night she walked to his room. She sat on the edge of the bed. "You don't have to love in silence anymore." And he understood. And he hugged her. And they stayed like that. In the days that followed, they started planning their wedding, but not the traditional way. "No crowded church," Olivia said. "No stiff suits," Ethan added. "Only real friends. And a cake with dulce de leche filling. And we can write our vows together. 1 sentence each, eyes closed, and we only read them on the day." "Deal." On the porch, under a sky sprinkled with stars, with their fingers intertwined and hearts lighter, Ethan whispered, "You were my prettiest stumble." Olivia responded with a long kiss. The sun peeked shyly between cotton-colored clouds, turning the simple patio of Aunt Elena's house golden. It was one of those days when the sky seemed to bless everything it touched, and for some reason, Olivia woke up with a light heart. Perhaps for the first time in many months. She sat on the bed and ran her hands over her already noticeable belly. The baby moved little, but each movement seemed like a silent confirmation that something good was on its way. In the kitchen, Ethan was making banana pancakes, whisking the batter with almost ceremonial care. When Olivia entered, he smiled sideways. "Did you sleep well?" "I dreamed of little lights hanging and the smell of lavender. We were laughing, and there was music." "Sounds like our wedding." She sat at the table. "Exactly." The idea of celebrating right there, in the backyard where everything had started to come together, came naturally. It was the place that now meant more than any cathedral or five-star hotel. "What if we do something just for us?" Olivia suggested one afternoon, with her feet soaking in a basin of warm water. "No protocols, no endless bridesmaid lists, just the people who held us up on our worst days," Ethan added, "and a good cake. And real vows." Aunt Elena loved the idea. Within hours, she was talking to the neighbors about flowers, fabric, and borrowed chairs. "It'll look like a soap opera wedding, but without the drama," she said, excited. Rachel arrived from Chicago 2 days before the ceremony. She had a big backpack, a box with handmade decorations, and a tearful smile. "I knew you two could fix it," she said, hugging Olivia carefully. "He's stubborn, but now he seems to be the right kind of stubborn." "I still have doubts sometimes," Olivia admitted. "And that's great. The love that doesn't challenge us doesn't change us." Logan also came. He brought casual suits for Ethan to choose from and insisted on rehearsing a movie-worthy walk down the aisle. The two had fun like teenagers again. "Who would have thought you'd get married in a backyard in Cancun, huh?" Logan teased. "Who would have thought it would be with the only woman who made me want to change everything?" "You really do look like a different man." "No, I just took off the armor." The night before the wedding, Olivia and Ethan spent the night apart, as suggested by Aunt Elena. "It's good luck," she explained, between stirring pots. Olivia slept in her aunt's old room, Ethan on the porch hammock. The night was peaceful, but full of memories. Each of them wrote their vows with a simple pen in a notebook that Aunt Elena would later sew by hand. One sentence with eyes closed, they had agreed. But both knew that the best part had already been lived in their actions. On the morning of the wedding, the neighborhood women arrived early with fresh flowers. They arranged them in clay pots and wove garlands with lavender and pitanga leaves. Rachel helped with the table details, while Olivia let herself be pampered by Aunt Elena, who was brushing her hair with firm yet gentle hands. "You look just like your mom in that dress," Aunt Elena said, her eyes misty. Would she have liked it? "She would have loved knowing you're being loved for real." Ethan wore a light linen shirt and loose pants. Logan adjusted his collar and gave him a pat on the shoulder. "Ready?" "Nervous?" "That's a good sign. If everything felt too easy, you probably wouldn't realize how big this really is." Outside, makeshift chairs were arranged in a semicircle. The altar was just a wooden frame covered in branches and ribbons, but to Ethan, it felt grander than any cathedral. The music began. It was soft, instrumental. Rachel walked in first, holding a bouquet of wildflowers. Then Aunt Elena, smiling and holding Olivia's arm as she walked slowly, her eyes fixed on Ethan. She looked like she was floating. Ethan felt the world pause. When they stood face to face, a gentle breeze passed by. Olivia held the paper with her vows. She took a deep breath. "If I had met you as the man you are today, maybe I would have said yes sooner. But maybe we both needed to break a little to be able to fit each other. You weren't the man I asked for, but you became the man I needed. And I'm learning to choose you every day. With courage, with honesty, and now with love." Ethan cleared his throat before speaking. "I was weak, immature, selfish. But the moment I saw you, there in that meeting room with eyes that don't back down, I knew you were the start of something new. I didn't know what it meant to love. I'm still learning. But with you, I'm learning gently. Thank you for not closing the door. Thank you for letting me be home." The words hung in the air, like a blessing meant only for the two of them. With emotion in her deep voice, Aunt Elena made it official. "Before God, family, and the time that brought you here, I now pronounce you husband and wife." There was no fancy champagne, just iced hibiscus tea with lemon, No dance floor, just laughter in the backyard and old songs playing on a portable radio. Logan recited a poem on the spot. Rachel shared stories of Olivia wearing sneakers with dresses and gently correcting her teachers. Late in the afternoon, Ethan and Olivia slipped away from the party for a few minutes. They walked to the empty lot next door, where the grass grew wild. "One day, we could build something here," Ethan said. "A studio for me, an office for you, and a house in the middle where we can hide from the world and raise our own." He took her hand, and the wedding ring caught the light of the setting sun. "No more silence," Olivia said. "Never again," he replied. That night, Olivia had leg cramps and woke up with back pain. Ethan helped her sit up, massaged her calves, brought her water, and stayed awake reading to her until she fell asleep again. She woke in the middle of the night and found him dozing beside her, his hands still resting on her belly. She cried quietly. This time, out of gratitude. The following days were peaceful. The house felt more alive than ever. Full of flowers drying in jars, wedding keepsakes, and baby clothes starting to fill improvised drawers. Ethan started building a small crib out of reclaimed wood. He wanted something made with his own hands, something to show how much he had changed. Olivia watched as he carefully sanded the boards, sweating under the afternoon sun, and she thought maybe this was what real love meant. Seeing someone fully, flaws and all, and still choosing to stay. During a new checkup, the doctor told them the baby might arrive earlier than expected. He was healthy, just very active. "You two might want to have your bags ready," she said with a laugh. Olivia exchanged a look with Ethan. A good kind of nervous energy ran through them both. "It's almost time, huh?" he whispered. She nodded. "But there's no need to be afraid." "I'm afraid, but I'm here." At home, they sat together on the porch. The moon was high, and crickets chirped in the distance. Ethan looked up at the sky. "You know what's the most beautiful thing about all this?" "What?" "That life gave us a second chance, and this time, we didn't waste it." "It's not over yet," she reminded him. "No, but we're finally living like it's really begun." She rested her head on his shoulder. "That's how I want to live, one day at a time, with truth, with you." That night in Cancun was especially quiet. The kind of night where the breeze barely moved through the cracks, and everything felt like it was floating in place. Olivia lay in bed, trying to find a comfortable spot between the pillows. Ethan kept adjusting. The baby kicked more than usual. "He's practicing to run," she joked, smiling through the discomfort. "Or he's already fed up with the heat." "Just like his mom," Ethan answered, winking. "Funny, now that I'm close to seeing his face, all the pain feels smaller. The waiting feels worth it." Ethan looked at her quietly for a moment. Then he leaned down and gently kissed her belly. "We're ready, little one. You can come whenever you're ready." He didn't know it would be that very night. It was around 3 in the morning when Olivia woke up with a different kind of pain. It wasn't like the others she had felt in recent weeks. It was deeper, more rhythmic, like something inside her had awakened and was demanding to come out. She sat up in bed, breathing heavily, trying not to panic. Ethan was sleeping next to her, but he woke up right away when he felt the mattress shift. "What is it?" "I think it's starting." He jumped out of bed, nearly tripping over the floor fan. "What do you mean it's starting? Like, now? Already?" "Ethan, I'm in pain. Real pain. This isn't just another contraction." Okay, breathe. I'm calm." "You're shaking." "That's because you're about to have a baby, Olivia." "Our baby." She corrected him, grimacing and taking a deep breath. Ethan rushed to grab the bag that was already packed, called the midwife's clinic like they had planned, let Aunt Alina know, and in a matter of minutes he was helping Olivia to the car, bringing cold towels and words of encouragement. "It's going to be okay. You're strong. He's strong, and I'm right here." She just squeezed his hand, tight. The clinic was 25 minutes away. Small, private, surrounded by trees and a bamboo fence. The midwife, Miss Mercedes, was already waiting at the door in her robe, with calm eyes that had guided hundreds of births. "The time has come, my dear. Let's go." The room was cozy. Dim lighting, soft instrumental music, the scent of lavender in the air. It didn't feel like a hospital at all. That helped Olivia relax. Ethan stayed by her side the entire time. He held her hand through the pain, whispered words of support during the contractions, kissed her forehead, wiped her sweat, and when Olivia felt weak, he simply kept repeating, I am here. You're not alone. The labor lasted longer than they expected, long hours of progress and setbacks. But when the baby's first cry echoed through the room, the world seemed to pause. Olivia closed her eyes, and tears ran down her face before she even saw the baby's face. Ethan dropped to his knees beside the birthing tub, hand over his face, in total silence. It was real. Their son had arrived. "It's a boy," Miss Mercedes said, her voice filled with emotion, placing the baby on Olivia's chest. Strong, healthy, and hungry. The baby's skin was still damp, his tiny face scrunched up, but to Olivia, he was perfect. A small miracle who was now crying, moving, and feeling her warmth. "Look, Ethan, he has your nose. And your stubborn little frown." They both laughed, still overwhelmed with emotion. "We did it," Ethan said, his voice cracking. "We did," Olivia echoed, kissing their son's forehead. In the days that followed, Aunt Elena's house filled with new sounds, new smells, and new routines. Diaper changes, long baths, late-night feedings, and somehow a peaceful feeling. Like that house had always been meant for this moment. Rachel was the first to visit. She brought a onesie with the phrase, "Made with love," and a few stumbles. "Fits your story perfectly," she said. Logan came with a custom-made portable crib. "You never know, you might travel. This little guy needs to be comfy, even on the road." Ethan and Olivia were now learning to balance sleep and affection, fatigue and care, laughing at their own mistakes and celebrating the little wins, like changing a diaper without dropping half the wipes. "We're officially parents," Ethan said one night, watching the baby sleep, "and even without a manual, I think we're doing okay. All I need to keep going is you. And coffee," Olivia replied, lying on the couch with her feet in his lap. Months went by. Olivia started drawing again. She created delicate pieces inspired by motherhood and this new phase of life. Ethan restructured his business to work remotely, prioritizing time with his family and launching new projects to support pregnant women in vulnerable situations. "I never want to lose what truly matters just because my schedule is full," he said during a video meeting. "If success takes me away from my family, then it's not worth it." One sunny afternoon, as Olivia was finishing a new watercolor on the porch, Ethan arrived with an envelope in his hands. "What's that?" "The deed," she frowned. "What deed?" "Our new house, the one in Playa del Carmen, with space for a studio, an office, and our lavender garden." Olivia was quiet for a moment, taking it in. "You already picked one?" "No, I just took the first step. The choice is ours, just like everything else has been." She stood up and hugged him. "Then let's choose together." A few months later, settled into their new home, they celebrated their first wedding anniversary with a dinner in the backyard. Lights hanging between the trees, soft music playing in the background, and the baby sleeping in the stroller, covered with a handmade blanket from Aunt Elena. "If you could go back in time," Olivia asked, her gaze fixed on the lit candles, "would you do it all over again?" Ethan thought for a few seconds before answering, "Yes. Even with the mistakes, the pain, the falls, because each bad part taught me the value of what we have now." "And now?" "Now, I just want to keep choosing you, every day." She held his hand across the table. "Me too. Even when you drive me crazy. Even when you forget where you put the car keys. And even when I wake up the baby because I picked him up just to see if he still has that little smell." Especially in those moments, they laughed and they toasted to the new phase, to family, to the courage to love, even after everything. What did you think of Ethan and Olivia's story? Leave your opinion in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What score would you give it? Subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell to follow all of our stories. And feel free to check out more emotional stories by clicking here on the final screen.